Hey guys, welcome to Juicy Tea, where I read out the best stories on Reddit, so you don't have to. The funny, shocking, and satisfyingly juicy. Today's Relationship Drama Friday, where we can just sit back and enjoy the tea. Unless you posted to Reddit recently. Our first story comes from the Petty Revenge subreddit, posted by Brave BO. Finally, ultra petty icecube revenge after 33 years of marriage. My husband and I have been married for 33 years. I love him, I really do. But he has this infuriating habit of not refilling the ice tray after use. He'll take a few cubes out and pop the tray back in the freezer. I can't count the amount of times I've gone to get ice and found that there's not enough cubes for whatever I need them for. I've tried everything to get him to fill the tray when there's less than half left. I've asked nicely, pleaded, whined, whinged, and rationalized, and even tried to bribe. You get the picture. His answer has always been that it doesn't need filling, and he'll fill it when it's empty. Then, 3 weeks ago, I had an epiphany. I know, right? A bit on the slow side. As I was removing ice from the tray, and, once again, filling it up, if you can't beat him, join him. So now I don't fill the tray, and as it reaches close to the end, I'm strategic about my use of cubes. I always leave just one in the tray. When he needs ice, it is available, but he'll have to fill the tray. I have not filled the tray in 3 weeks. It is amazing, the joy I find in this little revenge. Long may it last. And that is how the ice cube melts. Our next story comes from the Relationship Advice subreddit, posted by Chattahoochee. My husband, 59 male, doesn't understand why I, 59 female, don't want to have sex while vacating in a large rental home with family. I would like to tell him if people in general do this or don't do this. My husband and I have sex 3 to 4 times a week. Edit. Since this seems to be of note to a lot of you, let me assure you this hasn't always been the case. Raising children and each having pretty successful careers put a damper on our sex lives for years. Now kids are grown, I'm retired, and my husband is semi-retired. All that stress is gone, and sex once again has become a big part of our lives, like it was in the beginning. We're both glad of this. We're both 59 and have been married for 33 years. He's upset because when we go on vacation with family, siblings, parents, nieces, our children, all adults at this point, and we're staying together in a large rental house, I don't want to have sex for fear of being heard. I've explained to him that I would feel embarrassed if someone were to hear us. Not necessarily our voices, but perhaps the bed squeaking or banging against the wall. Even though they would never say anything to us about it. There's rarely, if ever, a time that we're alone in whatever vacation home we're staying in. The vacations are usually long weekends, 2 to 3 times a year, and once a year, we go for a full week to 10 days. We take other vacations alone, staying in hotels or rental homes, during which I have no hang-ups about having sex. He doesn't understand my uneasiness to have sex when family members are in the house and thinks I'm crazy. He's actually pretty mad about it. On my part, I don't understand why he can't go without sex for a few days or longer a few times a year. What say you all? Should I get over this fear that family members will hear us having sex? Am I crazy? Do you have sex when you're staying in a rental with other family members? Whether or not you think it's weird, it comes down to if you're comfortable. If either of you is uncomfortable, for whatever reason, no matter how stupid or illogical, even if the other doesn't agree, you still don't do it. Simple. That's just how consent works. Like, what's he expecting to do? Logically explain why it's not weird, so you have to do it, even if you're not comfortable? Ugh! And our last story comes from the BestofRedditorUpdates subreddit, posted by AdministrativeGift58. All my friends think that my, 22 male, girlfriend 21 female, is creepy. Are they right? Hi Reddit, I, 22 male, started dating my girlfriend, let's call her Alice, 21 female, about 7 months ago. We met while working on a group project for one of our college classes. From the moment I met her, I felt an instant connection. She was beautiful, smart, and we shared a bunch of common interests. Long story short, we flirted for a few weeks before I finally asked her out, and we've been happily going out since. Now, here comes the problem. About a month ago, my friends and I were planning a hangout, and I invited Alice. While me and Alice are from the same hometown, we met during college, and a majority of our relationship has been during the school year. While we know each other's college friends, we've never met each other's hometown friends. I know that Alice has really bad social anxiety, so I was hesitant to invite her at first, but when I did ask, she seemed nervous, but really excited. The party seemed to go really well. Alice was smiling and laughing the whole time, and even got to go on a rant about a topic she really liked. When it was over, she even told me while I was driving her home how much she liked my friends. And when I asked my friends what they thought of Alice, they all said she seemed nice. All except for my best friend, Ruben, 22 male. When I asked him, he told me that he hated her. I immediately questioned why, hoping it was just them not mixing well, as I can acknowledge that Ruben and Alice are complete opposites when it comes to interest and personality. But Ruben told me he hated her because of how creepy she is, and I was better off dumping her. Now, this threw me off, as I've never once considered Alice creepy. She's actually the cutest girl I've ever met, and I've never felt more comfortable around anyone as I do around her. Before I could even ask what he meant, he went off on a rant about how uncomfortable she made him, and started citing stories I told him about our dates during college. Stuff like how she'd stare at me without saying anything, and just enjoyed looking at me. Or how she'd eat the same meals whenever we went to dinner. How unjealous she was when a girl came up and flirted with me. Or about her deep knowledge of poisons and her love for murder mysteries and true crime. Both of which she could talk about for hours, but neither of which she actually talked about at the party. He said that while he wrote them off before, since they didn't seem to bother me, which they don't, but after meeting her in person and seeing how weird and flighty she was, he can tell she's a secret psycho and will end up breaking my heart or physically hurting me. I tried to explain to him how any weirdness was probably just because she was nervous about meeting them all for the first time. But he insisted that we've had friends' partners have anxiety before, and it was just that she was plain weird. I blew him off at first because he sounded effing crazy. Alice isn't perfect, but she's far from creepy. But after 2 weeks of him telling me to dump her, and me getting tired of telling him to drop it, I reached out to a few of my friends to prove him wrong. But, to my surprise, they all agreed that Alice was creepy. Most of them said that the way she spoke really threw them off, which is fair, since Alice can be weirdly formal sometimes, but I didn't notice her doing that at the party at all, and typically it's more funny than unsettling. Most of my friends told me it wasn't enough to break up with her, since they still found her genuinely sweet and fun to be around. But I did have one other friend say it was worth breaking up over, and he was just too embarrassed to tell me at first. I have no plans of breaking up with Alice, because all the stuff they're calling creepy, I find cute when she does. But are they right? Is it creepy that she does that stuff? Should I talk to her about it? Should I just tell my friends to F off and ignore their concerns? I feel bad for even questioning her about this, but with all my friends agreeing, it's starting to gnaw at me, and I just need some clarification if it's actually creepy or if they're just being dramatic. Update. Wow, thank you all so much for your helpful comments and validation. I'm glad you all agree that the stuff Alice is doing wasn't actually creepy. Anyway, to get to the meat of this update, since I posted originally, I spoke with each of my friends individually and talked to them about what they said. Pretty much all of them apologized, and some even offered to apologize to Alice herself, which at the time I said no to, since I didn't really want them interacting with her, but we'll get back to that later. The only one who didn't apologize, and I'm pretty sure you guessed, was Ruben. I want to address some comments suggesting that Ruben could either be attracted to me or maybe even Alice. I don't think either of those are true, as Alice is the first girlfriend that Ruben has ever acted like this with, even though I've dated plenty of girls, and Alice isn't really his usual type. He may still be attracted to her, I mean, she is effing gorgeous, but I've known the guy since 3rd grade, so I know he's pretty picky about the girls he's with. So I don't think that's it. I think he's just a major dick. I've known Ruben literally my whole life, since our mums were college friends and moved close to each other when we were young. With so much history, I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt by just asking him to drop it, since I didn't really care that he found her creepy. I really liked her, and he just had to deal with it if he wanted to continue being friends. He didn't apologize, or even say he was wrong, but he did agree to stop commenting on it, which isn't perfect, but works for now. I'll consider if I really want to continue being friends with him. Yesterday, I met up with Alice for a casual date. It wasn't anything fancy, just a home picnic. I have a really bad allergy, so we couldn't do it outside. I had some candles and our favourite foods, and we watched movies and dissected our favourite tropes. About halfway through our movie, Alice brought up Ruben, since she heard about an upcoming car show / auction that her dad told her about, and she remembered me saying that he loved vintage cars, and suggested that the three of us, plus a friend of hers who's also into cars, go together so she could get to know him better. It felt crazy that she suggested this days after mine and Ruben's fight, and it made me feel sick with how sweet she was while he was being such a jerk. I gave some weak excuses about how she hates car shows and doesn't have to do that, or how Ruben wouldn't be comfortable doing that. My girlfriend, being the angel that she is, said that she could tough through it, or even just let me and Ruben go together if he wasn't comfortable with her yet, and should even pay for the tickets because it was a private showing. This was a point I broke, and I told her everything that happened. She took it really well, just calmly listening while I rambled through my explanation, and even ended up apologizing to me about weirding out my friends. I tried to explain it wasn't her fault and she didn't need to apologize. As a lot of you suspected, she ended up telling me about how she believed she was autistic, but since she hasn't gotten the official diagnosis, she wasn't comfortable telling people. After a lot of guilty back and forth between the two of us, she told me she didn't want me cutting off my friends, since they did apologize and didn't say anything cruel, just pointed out her neurodivergent tendencies, which aren't an insult to her. But I put my foot down that I sure wasn't bringing her around Ruben anymore, and planned to distance myself from him and my other friend for the time being, which she agreed was fair. She also wants to meet up with my friends who want to apologize to her, since they did seem genuine in their regret. Overall, things turned out pretty well, and thank you all so much for your input. Eating the same meal does not mean that someone's secretly a psycho. In fact, most psychopaths are actually extremely charismatic. Look, I get a gut feeling can be a lifesaver sometimes, and you should listen to it in dangerous situations. But other than that, please use your head, because seriously, anything that seems slightly off about someone, even if completely harmless, just a bit odd, tends to give neurotypicals a bad gut feeling about a person, and they may not be able to put their finger on it, but they'll still just write that person off as creepy, even though it's probably just that person's on the spectrum. So please, if you're getting this creepy vibe off someone, but nothing they've actually done is wrong or creepy, and you can't even find a logical reason for it, and you're not in a risky situation, like a back alley at night, maybe consider the fact that they may just be different from you, and don't let your subconscious prejudice dictate how you treat them, because they could be an absolutely lovely person, like this girl. Do you really want to be the kind of person that's cruel and excludatory to someone just because they're different? Let's all try to be kind, hey? Remember, I post new content every day, so subscribe for more juicy tea.